His fingers would come here and it would cover the back of my neck. His hand was so big. He couldn't even hold me. I had to be hooked up to cables when I'm supposed to fall into his arms, and 100 pounds, he couldn't, it killed him.
What if the greatest fairy tale ever told nearly died before anyone could see it? What if true love, perfect revenge,
I want my father back, you son of a bitch.
an unforgettable adventure almost never made it to the screen? The Princess Bride wasn't just a movie. It was a 12-year battle to prove that fairy tales could still matter. These are 20 weird facts you didn't know about The Princess Bride. Number 1, William Goldman's bedside inspiration. The Princess Bride was born from William Goldman reading to his sick daughters during a bout of pneumonia.
That has damaging flaws, and once you lost them and they're gone, and then you'll never get them back.
The Oscar-winning screenwriter asked what kind of story they wanted to hear, and they gave him a list: princesses, giants, sword fights, and true love. Goldman improvised a tale that combined all their requests, making up characters and adventures on the spot to keep them entertained through their illness. The story captured his own imagination so completely that he spent the next year expanding it into a novel. What began as a desperate father's attempt to distract suffering children became one of the most beloved fantasy stories ever written. Number 2, the 12-year development hell. After publishing The Princess Bride in 1973, William Goldman spent over a decade watching studios reject his screenplay adaptation. Executives couldn't understand the tone. Was it comedy or romance? Adventure or satire? The metafictional framing device confused readers who wanted straightforward fairy tales. Studios demanded changes that would have gutted the story's unique voice, insisting on removing the grandfather scenes or making it a straight period piece. Goldman refused every compromise, watching the project languish in development hell while other writers' work got produced. The screenplay became legendary in Hollywood as the brilliant adaptation that nobody would film. Number 3, Cary Elwes's accidental injury. During the climactic sword fight between Wesley and Inigo Montoya, Christopher Guest accidentally struck Cary Elwes with his sword, sending the leading man to the emergency room. The scene required intricate choreography with real metal blades moving at high speed, creating constant danger despite extensive rehearsal.
The greatest sword fighter who ever lived. That was my job. That's what I had to do.
Guest's sword connected with Elwes's head during a particularly complex sequence, the impact immediately knocking him off balance. Production shut down while Elwes received stitches and treatment for a mild concussion. The injury terrified everyone involved, but Elwes insisted on returning to finish the scene as soon as doctors cleared him. Guest was mortified, but their friendship survived the accident. Number 4, Andre the Giant's gentle heart. Andrei Roussimoff, the 7-foot 4-inch wrestling legend who played Fezzik, was suffering from severe back and joint pain throughout filming due to his acromegaly. The condition that made him famous also caused constant physical agony that worsened with age and the demands of movie production. Despite his suffering, Andre remained unfailingly gentle and professional, never complaining about long hours or difficult physical requirements. Cast members recalled his kindness and sense of humor, particularly his protectiveness toward Robin Wright during cold weather shoots. Andre would place his massive hands over her head to keep her warm between takes, treating her like a beloved daughter. His performance as the gentle giant wasn't acting. It was Andre revealing his true nature to the world. Tragically, Andre died in 1993, just 6 years after the film's release, but his warmth lives forever in Fezzik. Number 5, the As You Wish love language.
As you wish.
The phrase "as you wish" became cinema's most perfect expression of unspoken love through Cary Elwes's subtle delivery and Goldman's brilliant writing. In the story, farm boy Wesley uses the phrase to respond to Buttercup's every demand, but his tone gradually transforms it from servant's obedience into declaration of devotion. Eloise worked extensively on the vocal progression, making each repetition of the phrase carry different emotional weight. By the time Buttercup realizes, "as you wish," actually means "I love you," audiences had already fallen for the romance without recognizing it themselves. The phrase became relationship shorthand for millions of couples who adopted it as their own private love language. Number 6. Rob Reiner's creative gamble. After directing the rock mockumentary This Is Spinal Tap and the coming-of-age drama Stand By Me, Rob Reiner seemed like the strangest possible choice for a romantic fairy tale adventure. Studio executives questioned whether the director, known for improvised comedy and male friendship stories, could handle true love and swashbuckling action. Reiner's own recent divorce made him an unlikely romantic, and he had zero experience with period pieces or fantasy worlds. But Reiner understood something crucial. The Princess Bride worked because it acknowledged fairy tale absurdity while believing in its emotions completely. Number 7. Mandy Patinkin's Real Tears. When Inigo Montoya finally confronts Count Rugen with, "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die," Mandy Patinkin's tears were devastatingly real. Patinkin's own father had died of cancer just years before filming, and the actor channeled his unresolved grief into Inigo's lifelong quest for vengeance. Every repetition of the iconic line carried Patinkin's genuine rage and sorrow about loss he couldn't prevent or avenge in real life. He later admitted that killing the six-fingered man became a therapeutic way to symbolically destroy the disease that took his father. The raw emotion in those scenes elevated what could have been campy revenge fantasy into genuinely moving catharsis. Number 8. The Cliffs of Insanity reality. The breathtaking Cliffs of Insanity were filmed at the actual Cliffs of Moher in Ireland, where 700-foot drops into the Atlantic Ocean created genuine danger for cast and crew. Andre the Giant, despite his fearsome wrestling persona, suffered from severe acrophobia that made the cliff scenes genuinely terrifying for him. The production had to carefully position Andre away from edges and use camera angles that disguised his distance from actual precipices. High winds constantly threatened equipment and personnel, forcing production delays and elaborate safety measures. The stunning visuals came at the cost of genuine fear and physical risk, with cast members later admitting that the beauty on screen masked constant anxiety about falling. Number 9. Robin Wright's star-making role. Robin Wright was a soap opera actress on Santa Barbara when she auditioned for Princess Buttercup, possessing beauty but relatively little film experience. Hundreds of actresses wanted the role, but Wright's combination of strength and vulnerability convinced Rob Reiner she could make Buttercup more than a passive prize to be won. Wright brought unexpected dimension to a character that could have been mere fairy tale archetype, giving Buttercup intelligence and agency within the story's constraints. Her chemistry with Carrie Elwes felt genuine and earned, rather than manufactured movie romance. The role launched Wright from daytime television into serious film career, leading eventually to her acclaimed work in House of Cards and Wonder Woman. Number 10. Billy Crystal's improvised genius. Billy Crystal's miracle. Mac's scenes were supposed to be minor comic relief, but Crystal's improvisation transformed them into the film's most quotable sequences. Rob Reiner let Crystal and Carol Kane riff extensively, filming hours of material as they invented bizarre character details and absurd dialogue variations. Crystal's "have fun storming the castle" and the MLT debate were completely improvised, born from the freedom to play rather than strict script adherence. Reiner reportedly laughed so hard during filming that his sounds had to be removed from the audio track in post-production. The scenes threatened to unbalance the film's tone by being too modern and comedic, but test audiences loved them so much that concerns evaporated. Number 11. The Fire Swamp's Practical Nightmares. Creating the Fire Swamp's dangers required elaborate practical effects that constantly threatened to go wrong and endanger the cast. The flame spurts used actual fire triggered by buried gas lines, creating genuine heat and danger with every take. The ROUS, rodents of unusual size, were played by small performers in elaborate rat costumes that limited vision and mobility. The lightning sand that swallowed Buttercup was a mechanical effect that required precise timing to avoid genuine suffocation risks. Every element of the sequence combined real physical danger with fantasy storytelling, making the fire swamp genuinely frightening to film, rather than safely controlled movie magic. Number 12. Wallace Shawn's imposter syndrome. Wallace Shawn nearly quit The Princess Bride multiple times during production, convinced he was miscast and ruining the film. The role of Vizzini was originally written for a physically imposing criminal mastermind, making the short, nebbishy Shawn feel absurdly wrong for the part. Shawn obsessed over every line reading, certain that his theatrical background made him too mannered for cinema. His signature line, "inconceivable," felt forced and unnatural to him during filming, causing anxiety attacks between takes. Rob Reiner had to repeatedly reassure Shawn that his nervous energy was perfect for the character, that Vizzini's bluster masked incompetence. Number 13. The framing device that saved everything. The grandfather-grandson scenes featuring Peter Falk reading to Fred Savage weren't in Goldman's original screenplay, added late in development to help audiences accept the fairy tale. Executives worried that modern viewers would reject pure fairy tale earnestness as too sincere or old-fashioned. The framing device gave the film permission to be both sincere and knowing, letting audiences experience the story through the grandson's initial skepticism, transforming into investment. Peter Falk's warm presence and Fred Savage's natural reactions created emotional scaffolding that supported the fantasy sequences. The device also allowed the film to comment on itself, acknowledging fairy tale conventions while embracing them wholeheartedly. Number 14. The sword fighting training. Carrie Elwes and Mandy Patinkin trained for months with Olympic fencing champion Bob Anderson to make their climactic duel look genuinely skilled. Anderson, who had choreographed lightsaber battles for Star Wars, demanded both actors learn real fencing techniques rather than fake movie combat. The training was exhausting and occasionally painful, with both men developing blisters, muscle strains, and bruised egos from constant correction. Anderson insisted they perform the complex choreography at full speed, with real metal blades, creating genuine danger during filming. The sequence was largely performed by the actors themselves rather than stunt doubles, making it one of cinema's most authentic sword fights. Number 15, the box office. Disappointment. The Princess Bride opened in September 1987 to modest box office returns and middling audience interest, earning just $30 million against its $16 million budget. The marketing campaign confused potential viewers who couldn't determine if it was children's movie, adult comedy, romance, or adventure film. The title seemed generic and the advertising failed to capture the film's unique tone and quotable dialogue. Critics praised it, but audiences stayed away, choosing other fall releases instead. The studio considered it a financial failure and quickly moved on to other projects. But then something unexpected happened. VHS sales and cable television broadcasts introduced the film to millions who missed it theatrically. Number 16, Mark Knopfler's understated score. Dire Straits guitarist Mark Knopfler composed a deliberately delicate, almost minimalist score that trusted the story, rather than overwhelming it with bombast. Knopfler's approach avoided typical fantasy film orchestral excess, instead using acoustic instruments and simple melodies that felt timeless and storybook appropriate. The main theme's gentle guitar work became instantly recognizable, while never dominating scenes or dictating emotional responses. Knopfler understood that The Princess Bride worked through understatement rather than excess, needing music that supported rather than announced itself. His score influenced countless fantasy films afterward, demonstrating that fairy tales didn't require Wagner-sized orchestras to feel epic. Number 17, Chris Sarandon's villain complexity. Chris Sarandon's Prince Humperdinck avoided cartoon villain territory by playing him as genuinely convinced of his own righteousness rather than knowingly evil. Sarandon gave Humperdinck realistic motivations, political ambition, wounded pride, entitlement, that made him threatening rather than ridiculous. The prince wasn't cackling madman, but rather privileged aristocrat who couldn't comprehend that others might have legitimate claims against his desires. Sarandon's performance suggested Humperdinck genuinely believed he deserved Buttercup and that Wesley was criminal interfering with proper social order. This grounded villainy made his defeat more satisfying than vanquishing obvious monster would have been. Number 18, the torture scene's dark reality. The machine and Wesley's torture represented genuinely dark horror within the fairy tale framework, testing how far the film could push before breaking its storybook spell. The scene's brutal effectiveness came from not showing graphic violence while making audiences feel Wesley's agony through sound and reaction. The machine's design was deliberately medieval and cruel, suggesting genuinely evil imagination behind its construction. Billy Crystal's Miracle. Mac's scenes immediately following the torture provided essential tonal relief, but the darkness lingered beneath the comedy. The balance between fairy tale and genuine horror became the film's most delicate tightrope, with the torture scene pushing furthest into territory that could have alienated younger viewers. Number 19, the quotable phenomenon. The Princess Bride achieved something rare. Nearly every line became iconic and endlessly quotable across generations and demographics. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya, as you wish. Inconceivable. Have fun storming the castle, and dozens more entered common usage beyond film fan circles. The dialogue worked because Goldman wrote with rhythm and repetition that made phrases memorable while serving character and story. Lines felt natural in context, but distinctive enough to function as cultural shorthand outside the film. The quotability created self-sustaining marketing as fans introduced others through shared language and references. Number 20, the sequel that will never happen. Despite decades of fan demand and studio pressure, William Goldman refused to write a Princess Bride sequel, insisting some stories are perfect as they stand. Goldman explored sequel ideas privately, but found nothing that honored the original without diminishing it through unnecessary continuation. He understood that the film worked partly through its completeness. Every character received satisfying resolution that sequel would undo for commercial purposes. The pressure intensified after the film achieved cult status, with producers offering substantial money for any continuation Goldman would write. He never wavered, protecting his creation from the franchise mentality that ruins so many beloved properties through forced extensions. The film that almost never happened became the story nobody can forget. What's your favorite Princess Bride quote that you use in everyday life? Hit that subscribe button and tell us what legendary tale we should uncover next.